Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. What a week of football. Let's talk to one of our favourites about the Champions League. Look at that thumbnail, eh? Look at Gianni looking up at the Gladiators.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
This is one of my most favourite thumbnails. The way Gianni is just looking up at the Galacticos and the Gladiators. He will be in Madrid. We all know it. We've got to get him on that first class seat, though, at some point, Gunners. Maybe for the final of the Champions League. Back at Squad Central, one of our favourites, Mr. Judges.
Yay! Oh, it's been too long. It's been too long.
It has been too long.
The Oliver character, Barry. The only thing is that he bloody died in it, like, you know what I mean? So I'm not too sure about that.
But he died a hero. You got to leave it all out there.
He died a hero, like, you know. So that's an epic film, that, by the way. Epic film.
It's a great film. It's a great film. Good evening, Squaddies at ease. It's a late hour for you guys, so many of you will be listening on replay. For those listening on audio platforms, thank you very much. Morgie, we got to start with it. It's your birthday, so happy birthday to you from me and Mr. Judges. And our Chief Like Officer, Tammy, had to go to bed early because she's got an early rise. Can't join you tonight. Got an early start tomorrow. See you next time. So I'm hoping that the Squaddies will be telling everyone to hit the like button. Tamina, good evening. Carol, good evening. Ryan, hola to you as well. PW, Galispera. Kevin, hola. How are you doing? Barry's here. Kermit's middle finger. That's what we gave to PSV in the Champions League. Trev is here. Harvey is here. Complaining already is Harvey with his question marks just because we were late. But you know what, Harvey? I'm consistent. Yellow card for Mr. Judges. Listen, if David Ornstein could be given a yellow, so can you, Lee Judges. All right?
Oh, it's booking that, like, I mean.
We'll take it to VAR. I'm sure if Newman joins at some point, he will be your counsel, no doubt about it. Cecil, good evening. Hawkwind, hello. Hello, everyone, by the way. Thank you so much for joining. Listen, this is what I've decided, Lee, is I might focus, hello, Mark, good to see you as well. I might focus on the Champions League for the next few months. Well, actually, for the next month. When are we playing in April? Do we know the date yet? Let's see.
Yes, we're playing on the Tuesday. It's a Tuesday then the Wednesday. So is it the 8th?
I'm happy that we're playing. It's 8th of April, and then the return leg is the 16th of April. Yeah. Before we kick off, I'm really happy that we're playing at home first. And I know that, you know, away goals, they don't count anymore. We don't have to worry about that. But there's something about setting the tone at home, getting the confidence, and then having to go to Madrid and knowing what we got to deal with. Do you agree or disagree with that one?
I understand the theory in that. And I get you. But if it's tight, and it is really tight like these games are proving to be like now, you know, getting the extra time at home with your fans there, all that travelling and whatever, like, yeah, I think there's an advantage, but only a slight advantage. It ain't as big a deal as it is. But I hear what you're saying, get it done on the home leg. But if you have a look at it, when you start going deep into the Champions League, last 8 semi-finals and that, there's not a lot in it. And I think fine margins are key at the top level. So I get what you're saying. Like, realistically, when you look back at Bayern Munich, if we'd have done the business against Bayern Munich, it would have helped us. But in the end, it didn't. You know. So I really see what you're saying. We should have won that. by more than one, let alone draw it. So, got to take your chances when they come to you. So, I'm with you on it, but.
Okay.
You know, if you look at the statistics of it, I'd imagine that the team going second turns out winning most times. Not most times, but I bet it is an advantage. It is an advantage.
That'll be interesting. We should get Tom. I bet Tom Canton has that stat. We should ask him in our WhatsApp group.
Yeah. We know he will. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
He knows Miguel's shoe size. I don't know if that's true.
I have to say, you guys, we're in I know, like so many, when I mention the WhatsApp group, all the squaddies are like, I want to be in that group. But we have a WhatsApp group, and when Tom and Lee and Dan exchange messages, it is bloody hilarious, I tell you. It is absolute gold. And what I love is that you'll see like Dan and my time difference. So I'll wake up and I could have 300 messages to catch up on in the old WhatsApp group. And you'll have Dan and Tom going at it. And then Harry will chime in. And then judges will be like nowhere. But then all of a sudden, bosh, here he is. He appears and he says something and it sets it off in a whole other direction. And it is bloody hilarious. I love it. It's so good. It's so good.
You know what? That WhatsApp group is like having your old school teacher in it, like, you know, and that's Tom, you know what I mean? You can just fire shots at him, like, you know what I mean? Get away with it. I feel like I'm back at school with my blazer and tie on, like, you know what I mean?
It feels sometimes it's really funny because it feels like it's like Harry and Tom, and then there's you and Dan, and it feels like, you know, in the playground, like 2 on 2, 2 on 2. 2 on 2. just
team wrestling game, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, you know?
Yeah. And then I chime in. I'm like, I want to play. Really good stuff. Okay, yeah, it is later, Matty K. I know. A lot. You know, there's the beauty. You guys can listen to it on replay as well. Right. Let's throw some stuff here at Lee. Okay. The last time we met Real Madrid, was in 2006. And let me tell you, it worked out pretty okay for us. And I would like to say, all right, that this leg, and Lee will correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no Ashley Cole, there was no Sol Campbell, and we had to play Senderos at the back and Flamini at left back. Something Mikel Arteta would probably have really appreciated. And if I remember when we went there, we were not intimidated. In the first 10 minutes at the Bernabeu, I feel like we could have been 2-0 up. Yes. Raya's had a great chance. Henri Lundberg had a really good chance. And then we defended like giants in the second leg. Again, though, Raya's some really good chances, and we kept it to 0-0. By the way, Senderos and Flamini playing at the back. Lee, I was saying on BBC Radio London today, I am sure Mikel Arteta is going to play the team, the video from 2006. Lean into that. Now, I know, you know, we had a great team in 2006, but I also think this team, if everyone was fit, would be the same, but we're facing the same challenges. Does Mikel rewind and go to 2006 to get them G'd up?
Well, I would. I'd definitely play it like that. I mean, because it's something to be proud of as well. You know, I heard a stat today that there's only one team that Real Madrid have never beaten in the Champions League that they've challenged. Never beaten. That's in a game. Like, so if Real Madrid, I don't know, have played Barcelona in the Champions League, they would have won one of those games. If they'd have played some team, I don't know, if they'd have played a team in only once, they'd have beaten them in one of those games. Apart from one team. One team has played them twice, but won once and lost and drawn once, and that's us. So, you know, I've only played them twice, so I'll take it.
You know, though, before we beat them at the Bernabeu, no English team had beaten them there.
No. And this is, of course, is their stadium, but it's a new stadium. So, like, let's go and do it again. Let's go and do it again.
All right. So here's where I want to start with you. So there's a reason why I chose the thumbnail that I did. And by the way, if we can find who did the Gladiator,
absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
It's so good. It's so good because I don't know if you agree with me, but for me, it's our defense versus their attack, Lee. And I only say that because we don't know if there's going to be a Saka. There's no Havertz. Martinelli hopefully will be match fit by then a little bit. But for me, it's like Saliba and Gabriel have to have the game of their lives. Lee, do you agree that if we're going to win this tie, that our defense has to absolutely boss everything? And we'll get to the midfield and the attack in a little bit, but right now I just want to focus on the defense.
Yeah, they've got to be at their very, very best. And it'd be very interesting what back four he has. Now this is 4 weeks away, by the way, till we play again. So we've got, I think we've got obviously Chelsea at the weekend, but then we've got the international break, internationals to come back from. That's why I can't get excited about this tie yet, because there's so much football to play. Then we play Fulham. Then we've got a difficult game against Everton before going there on the Tuesday. So it's a difficult one. What he'll do then? We know the league's gone. So I'd imagine that game against Everton now, there'll be a few changes and really focusing on that game. So, but
how do you manage it, Lee? Because let me just throw these in there while we're talking about the defense, right? Because as of now, our opinions are based on what we know, right? So by the time this game comes around, Benjamin White will probably be more match fit.
Yeah.
We know Timber is awesome. We know that Lewis Skelly has been absolutely unbelievable. What are you doing, Lee, based on what we know today? And of course, we've got those Premier League games. Liverpool, the title is done, really. Let's be honest. Unless they capitulate after going out of the Champions League, I don't see it. But how do you approach this? Premier League games, yes, important. We want to finish second. But who are your starters and your finishers? Because when we're lucky now because Benjamin White's back. You got Timber. Before everyone went out injured, it was White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Timber. What are you doing, judges? You're the manager tonight.
Ooh, right. Well, after yesterday, Ben White is a million miles off near being 100% match fit. So he's got 4 weeks for me to get really up and running, and I'm tempted at this moment in time to say Ben White at right back and Timber over at left back. And then obviously the two central defenders. Saying that may be the way to do it in the away leg to try and defend something in a home leg, we might have to be a little bit more open. If I would probably start with Timber at right back and probably Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back. That's what I would do. But in the away leg, I'll play Ben White.
So,
if he's 100% fit,
a lot of fans have been talking about Kieran Tierney because of his defensive discipline. But I think Tierney's definitely one of those finishers, or God forbid if something happened injury-wise, you bring him on, Lee. Some of the squaddies are saying, do you want Vinny to cook White? Do you want to see the matchup on that right side when
who's cooked Ben White before?
Well, we've heard so many times, haven't we, about everyone before a game, and then Benjamin White shows up and has the game of his life. I don't know if anyone's super cooked him.
Never. I don't think no one is. I go back to the last couple of seasons. Someone tell me who's rinsed Ben White. I don't think no one is. He weren't. Listen, don't go on yesterday's performance because he's rusty and all that. And I'm saying if we was playing Real Madrid next week, he's nowhere near it. but he's got 4 weeks to get himself fit. And also, I think that with Ben White can give us something more at set pieces. I think our set pieces have been a little bit disappointing over the last few weeks. So Ben White coming back can give us something in the set piece. But in saying that, at this moment in time, I don't think many players have cooked Timber neither.
Someone said Mitoma. Okay, fine. We're talking about like when we faced City, when we faced Chelsea, when we faced, United, when we faced all of these big teams, Benjamin White has stood up and stood tall. And you're right, Trev. We are going in as underdogs, but there's something about maybe starting. Do you think mentally Lewis Skelly's ready to start a game like this? Because I think he's been brilliant, but I also think that we've seen him where maybe he's been trying a little bit too hard and getting himself a little bit caught. I don't think Calafiori is I think he's like third on the list to start in the left back position. Do you think Lewis Skelly is ready for this? Because there was 3 or 4 weeks ago, was having a conversation with actually Tom and a few others, and they all had Lewis Skelly for there was a semi-final starting tomorrow. Lewis Skelly would be the left back, but that was when Benjamin White was injured. Do you think he's ready, Lee?
Yeah, why not? Of course he is. He's had a couple of dodgy things go against him. That can happen to the most experienced players. Did Roy Keane ever get sent off? I think he did. Did Patrick Vieira get sent off? Did Dennis Bergkamp? Yes. The sending off, was a little bit harsh. It's not the lack of discipline. Like what I say with the lack of discipline is when you kick out at somebody and all that. Like it's just been caught out. But comfortable yesterday. I know it's a different game, but different environment. But I've got no problem with that. There, if I be really honest about it, I feel a little bit more comfortable with him in the team at this moment in time than Calafiori in a defensive side of it. Mm-hmm. Even though I think Calafiori going forward has been fantastic for us. It's a difficult one. For me, I think if everybody was fit and 100% fit, I would choose Timber over him. I would at that left back position. But I don't think that I would with anybody else, So listen, Miles Lewis Skelly for me has done fantastically well. I think he's, there's a position for him there, but I also do think that further up, like the way he drives past people and everything like that, and maybe when you're playing Real Madrid, you've got to be on your game. Got to be right on it. Maybe a couple of times he's just stayed, not been as focused as what he should have been. I don't know, but against Real Madrid, you're going to have to be focused, and every player is going to have to be But I think that he's had a wonderful season so far. Look, we all know he should never got sent off against Wolves, but he did. But and the one against West Ham was
that was. And the lucky one in the Champions League, right? In the first leg.
Yes. He was very, very fortunate in that. Should have been sent off. But listen, he's not the first player to be sent off for two yellow cards. It happens. So hopefully, and I sincerely hope that he's been, he's learned a lesson from that. He got taken off straight away after 30 minutes. Not the greatest look, is it? And I'm pretty sure he's been spoken about that. And listen, I think the other thing is that he is very aggressive in his play. And when you're a very aggressive player, you're going to get bookings. So, I think it's something you have to live with when you've got that aggression and all that. And do you know what? I don't really want that aggression taken out of him.
No.
So, manage it. If he gets booked, he comes straight off. Simple as that.
If there's a position that, it's really kind of crazy because as thin as we are, it feels like defensively we're okay, right? because you can bring on Calafiori if you want. I don't know if you want chaos, but Miles Lewis-Skelly has the going forward, the inverted, and the defensive discipline. You've got Timber to play there if you want. And you also, if you want to go traditional, you've got Kieran Tierney, who can come in. And it feels like from these two, who I feel, are probably the two most important players in that tie. And by the way, today's Dicky Bow Thursday, and I put this together myself. I superimposed Mbappe's face over Van Dijk, because this was the look Saliba and Gabriel gave Van Dijk at the PFA Awards last year. And I honestly feel that if these two go into this game and play well, that we can win. But also, Lee, I think it's time for Arsenal fans to shout a bit louder and give this guy his flowers. Look, I know that he didn't necessarily show his best with the Bruno Fernandes free kick, but in that second half, if it wasn't for David Raya, we would have lost that game. And as much as we talk about, Saliba and Big Gabby and White and Timber and Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori and all those guys, this guy has been absolutely immense, probably with Big Gabby, our two best players this season. Talk to me about him, how important this is going to be, and really kind of giving him his flowers this season, Lee, because he's been immense.
Yeah, listen, I think, he's been outstanding this season. It's out of him and Gabriel, who would be my player of the year at this moment in time. I think the biggest compliment that I can give him, and by the way, he's been outstanding this season, is when he lets a goal in, I'm disappointed. Because I expect him to save it. You know what I mean? That's how good he's been. So, he was disappointing about the free kick. But my word, he made up with it with another 2 or 3 tackle saves later. He's just been unbelievable this season. The one thing I will give him credit for, and I don't know how people in the chat feel when you do, Sophie, is that every time a cross comes in, I'm just so confident he's just going to come out and get it. The confidence is, he's assured. He's very, very good. His handling is magnificent. And I just think he's been fantastic this season. And listen, he's going to have to be at his very, very best if we're to go through in these over 2 legs against these. So, he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I can't speak highly of it. I think the pressure of not having Ramsdale about definitely helped. That knowing that you're the number one and you ain't got to really prove yourself. And he's just grown and grown into and he's a proper Arsenal goalkeeper now, and up there now with the very, very best. When you talk about best goalkeepers in Arsenal's history, he's in my opinion, he's in the conversation with the way he's played this season, without a shadow of a doubt.
He's and I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, and we don't have to mention it again, but I love being wrong, because if I'm wrong, it means the club or Mikel are right. And David Raya this season has been absolutely immense. And to know that we've got a goalkeeper like that going into a situation like this, he's good with his feet, he's good with the crosses, his shot stopping has improved, his positioning. There were a couple of goals earlier on this season where it was a bit dodgy. I think one against Fulham, one against West Ham, but he's really, I think when he makes a mistake, he kind of bounces back and he excels. Like, he's so confident in himself that if he makes a mistake, he stands tall and he doesn't hide in a game at all. And I think that, he could be a difference maker, especially if we're going to play the way we're going to play. We were all wanting Real Madrid, really, because we didn't want to entertain Atletico Madrid's low block. We saw how they set up against Real, Lee. They're a tough nut to crack, and I think they would have been our kryptonite.
Too tough for us. Too tough for us.
A bit too tough for us. And flowing football from Real Madrid gives us a bit more of an option. All right, let's get stuck into. So Lee's defense, as it stands, is David Raya, Benjamin White, William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Urian Timber. Is that correct?
Yeah. If Ben White proves his fitness over the next 4 weeks.
Okay. All right. So let's discuss these guys, right? Because for me, you've got to play Rice, Thomas, and Odegaard. I don't think, I feel like Jorginho is going to be the guy that comes off the bench that's able to, split a defense. And to have a player like Jorginho off the bench who's been there, done that, won everything, and, can keep everyone calm, I think that's massive. But Rice, Thomas, and Odegaard, as much as we want our defense, the first line of defense is that midfield. And of course, the way Mikel plays this season, Lee, the line of attack is defense as well. But that midfield are going to be absolutely critical. What concerns you the most? What do you see? What is your take on our midfield, which other than Thomas Partey, I think has dipped a little bit. I think Rice has risen and Odegaard is just not having a great season.
No, that's the thing. I'm hoping that Martin can play as well self into form, or the little break of having didn't play at the weekend can certainly do something, because I'm going to be really honest with you. If all three of them don't have 9 out of 10 performances in both games, then we're in trouble. They have got to be right on top of their game, all three of them, for both games. And I can't emphasise that enough. And I think that they can do. If they do, we're in for a very, very good chance of winning or getting something from the first leg. If they're not on it, and Thomas Partey, as you said, you're not quite too sure whether he's on it or not at times. So, yeah, I can't emphasise how key that is. And Odegaard has got to be back to where he was last season. He has got to be. If not, and if he carries on the way he's going, and Saka is fit, which I don't think he is, but if he was, I'm tempted to put Wanyeri in now. Tempted.
Over Odegaard in a game against that's never going to happen.
If he carries on playing the way he has been playing,
Mikel will never do that. Do you see Mikel?
That's what I'm saying. So he's got to perform. He's got to perform. I've been very, very disappointed with Martin Odegaard. Very disappointed with his performance against Manchester United. Saying that, he played very, very well against PSV, but this is a big, big game at home. On his day, he's fantastic, so we all know that. We all know that. But he cannot afford, and Arsenal cannot afford for him to be having one of those games that he's been having in over the last few weeks or for the last few months. The games against Newcastle, anonymous. He has got to be at the forefront of it. And if he's not, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. He's a very, very important player for us. Very, very important player for us. Zinchenko, by the way, played very, very well yesterday. But, it's hard to say, like, go on there, like, But I think it's even yesterday, it was a game, Zinchenko, bang, goal. Martin Odegaard has the same thing to do, and he chooses to pass. He's got to get his decision-making right. Listen, he's going to make mistakes. He's going to give the ball away because he's trying those little intricate passes. But if he is not on his game, Soph, we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Can I say, I don't know if it was the West Ham game, but I was like, it was so bad. I was like, I would put Zinchenko in midfield. And there's something about the Zinchenko midfield thing that I think is a bit of a trump card, or if you're playing like gin rummy, it's a joker. I think, and I agree with you, the way he took that shot and he scored, how many times have you seen Odegaard take, and listen, I'm an Odegaard disciple. I love him. I back him 100%. But when it comes to shooting outside the box and taking those kinds of shots, Lee, the Zinchenko bangs one in. We've seen Odegaard try to do that all season. And I think we'll all agree that scoring outside the box this season for us has been so poor, right? So the Zinchenko thing, not to start, but to have the trump card if it's not working. I think Mikel would trust Zinny in that role over Waneri. I think Waneri will be the guy to start on the right, and you've got both outlets, right?
I agree with that. I think that Zinchenko's done really, really well. And listen, we have all, and in my back of my mind, and I'm pretty sure it's with you as well, and all the Odegaard fans. I remember the game at Spurs when we won 2-0 when he smashed in the goal from there, and how good he was. Do you remember when we beat Spurs 2-0 at their ground? We know what he can do. We know, like, we're not saying that he can't shoot and score. We know that he can. We know that what a magician he is, but he's just got to be. He's not been on it all season so far. I don't think.
No, I agree, and I think it's undeniable. Like, he's just not. Something's been off. I don't know if he came back too early from his injury.
Yeah, maybe
still carrying something. PW is like, no, Zinchenko scored a good goal, but he gives the ball away so often. I think he gives the ball away when he's playing at left back as in the inverted role. I actually liked what I saw from him yesterday, and I think that he kind of controlled the tempo of the game a little bit too. So, Lee, some folks are saying that they would start Lewis Skelly in midfield over, say, Thomas Partey. What are you saying about that?
I do. I know that he's playing left back at the moment, but I do see his future in there. You know, if you have a look at him, I think it could be something against low block teams that I would, because he's the only player that I see that drives past players from deep. I do see it as his role eventually, and it would be like, you know, particularly against those low block teams. I would think maybe like you know, like Rice, him and Odegaard, something like that. But we're not playing again. When we're playing Real Madrid, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be a little bit more open. So we've got to plug gaps. So I think that Partey and, you know, sitting in front of the back four is the obvious candidate. But I do see Miles Lewis-Skelly's future in that role. I do. Very, very quick, aggressive, gets across the park really, really well. Got an engine on him. So I'll be very, very surprised if he doesn't end up in that role. But not for these games. Not for these games, in my opinion.
So
midfield, that midfield, if they're on song, they ain't a lot better.
Yeah, and I honestly think Jorginho could do great for us at some point in these two legs. He's just too experienced. I know he's a snail trail going back and stuff like that, but if we're going to need something, I don't think you write off Jorginho and his leadership and what he can bring to a match. And Lewis Skelly came into the City game, didn't he, away in midfield? I think, you know, I think he's got enough confidence, Lee, to not worry. I think he can play anywhere, that kid. He's got that chip, you know, about him too. And here's the other scoop here, right? So I feel for Saka. This is the kind of game you dream of. I know it's one thing playing Bayern Munich, but it's another thing playing Real Madrid in the Champions League. And when you look at the Highlanders and these three, I mean, the future you're very excited about. If the club can invest and build around, you know, these three players among, you know, like the Declan Rices of the world, who I think could stay at Arsenal for his entire career if we play our cards right. But Lee, what are you doing with Saka? Are you, I mean, part of me just wants him to just sit out the rest of the season, you know, and I would hate for us to rush him back. You can't. After the surgery he's had, I think anyone who thinks Saka's going to be ready to play against Real Madrid is nuts. Am I nuts?
No, I don't think you are. Listen, I you know, we've got 4 weeks. 4 weeks is a long time. It's another month, really, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean? So that would be like what the end of December. So that'd be January, February, March, and a little bit of April. It's 3 months. I don't think it's enough time. I really don't, like, you know. And listen, Martinelli's been out for 4 weeks. And his first 2 games, he's come on 15 minutes, 15 minutes. What does that tell you? That, you know, you've got to build it up. And that's what's going to have to happen with him, like, you know. So, listen, if he's on the bench for the second leg, or we got him on the bench for the semi-finals, if we get that far, then so be it. But listen, if we go out against Real Madrid, I don't want to see him. You know, just get him ready and fit for next season. That's how I would see it. But, you know, they're saying that, you know, he could be coming back from the international break. The one thing I don't want is for him to be rushed back and then he breaks down again and he's out for months and months and months. And, you know, I worry about that. And it's one of those injuries that it happens. I know it's not the same, but Aaron Ramsey had the same injury. Look how many he keeps coming back and getting, you know, he's out again with another hamstring injury. Like, I look at that quite a lot. Look at Van der Ven come back out again, like, for months, you know. So it's one of those injuries that you can have it scanned and everything's okay, but you don't know until you're fully tested. You are fully tested on it. It's one of those injuries. So, listen, I will say, because we had a doctor in that does all that sort of stuff, and he was saying that, listen, the surgery makes it a lot stronger than if it didn't have the surgery. So
I hear we spoke to Jason Cundy, which some of you appreciate and some of you didn't, which I appreciate that you didn't and that you did, Lee, and he talked about Reece James, and, you know, because like everyone, he rates Saka, thinks he's special, doesn't think Arsenal should rush him back. And Reece James has just been plagued by coming back too soon, you know, because he's been so important to that Chelsea team, especially in the midst of all their changes. And it's just so risky. We've seen it, of course, old days with Michael Owen. And, you know, it's so funny how everyone's talking about Saka, but what about Kai? You know, Kai was standing on the sidelines without crutches. Everyone's so focused on Saka, but is Kai going to be ready? Like, why aren't we talking about him? Because I'll tell you something. Are you missing him yet, fans that have dogged him most of the season? Like, there's no talk about Kai.
No, because I think really what they've said about Kai is that he's out for the whole season. So that you sort of like, that's you put it on the thing that's happened. If he's on the same sort of timeline as Saka, it's the same injury. You know, I know that every injury is not the same, but it's the same sort of timeline. He's looking at coming back around about May, which is obviously the season's finished. So, listen, Havertz, if we did miraculously make it to the final, he could actually maybe be involved in that. I don't know.
I guess I'm asking, Lee, because it's so weird, like similar injuries, right? Both surgeries. Kai's out for the whole season, but Saka can come back in April. There's just something about it that doesn't sit well with me. Like, we've overworked Saka as it is. We've overworked Kai as it is as well. I mean, I don't know. The tear for Havertz probably worse. You know, Saka not as bad. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's just a little bit tricky, because I just think that sometimes the glory is just so important that you can't sacrifice what Saka's going to bring to this team going forward for like a game, right? I just think that Mikel has to figure it out. And that's where I was going to get to you next is, I don't think Mikel has figured out how to be creative and how to change things up in this period of adversity. I think that he literally takes a player off and puts another player on. I don't think that he's thought, you know what? Okay, Mikel Merino up front, right? Because we're desperate. But he hasn't changed how he's approached the game tactically. For me, I say to everyone who comes on, you're better at tactics than I am, but you just plug and play. You don't switch things around. This is where he's got to earn his 15 million crust for me, Lee. He's got to figure out smartly and have a trump card against Real Madrid where everyone will be like, wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah,
this is the moment for him. What do you think?
That's a tremendous point. I'm going to be really honest. Like, I was so disappointed with Mikel on Sunday. So disappointed with the like-for-like substitutions. Same things, you know what I mean? Like for like. Why didn't he change it a little bit differently? Like, Man United, today were very impressive, what I see of them today. But, we know that they were there for the take. You know that they played in a block. You knew this. And you didn't get it. And I'm going to say it again as I look back on yesterday. I was disappointed with him again yesterday. 15 minutes from the end. Why don't you chuck Martinelli up top, see what happens? But then again, I've had a little think about it today and think, well, do you want to show that hand yet? Maybe in training they're doing this. You know what I mean? Like if you don't want to show it, I don't know. But I think that. The Merino one is a difficult one. It's worked for us on some occasions and it's not on others. Certainly don't work on the low block. I don't know what he's going to do and how he's going to change that. I think that, that was a game yesterday. I get it was just to rest players and all that, but it was also a chance there to say, right, if they play a low block, do we play the extra midfield player in? I look back at the Man United game and you think, right, well, why don't you just put, you took Partey off and you put Merino back in there. Why don't you just take Partey off, keep Wanyeri on and put Declan Rice there? So you had Declan Rice, Odegaard and Wanyeri in the midfield. Just try something different. Or even Miles Skelly driving through or something like that. Just do something a little bit to try and get this way, because we just cannot break this down. We cannot, for whatever reason, So I was very, very disappointed with him. Listen, it isn't going to make or break him. Well, it maybe make him, but it definitely won't break him if he doesn't find a solution against Real Madrid, because not a lot of teams do. So, you know what I mean? But if he was to find a solution and we go and win it, and it's a masterclass from him, then, fantastic. He had most of his players available against Newcastle, apart from Saka, of course, in the two-legged affair. And that was a disaster. He couldn't find a way of doing it, and breaking it through. So when it comes to the crunch, he hasn't been able to deliver. Not only in the players as well. So it is a massive, massive test. And that's one of the reasons why I want this game, because I want to see us, if we do go out against them, I want to see us go, well, we was unlucky or we was this. Not that we're a million miles off of it. We wasn't a million miles off of it against Bayern Munich, even though I was disappointed because I didn't think that was a great team last season, Bayern Munich.
I agree.
But that this Real Madrid team are. So let's see where we are, see where it takes us. And I do want to see something from Mikel over these next few months, Soph. I really do. I want to see him learning, being able to break down a resilient Fulham when they come to us in a few weeks' time, Everton, and then obviously it's a different game by him. But we have got to find, he has got to find ways of sorting that out. So it'd be very, very interesting what he does over the next few weeks. But I don't think that that these two games will break him under any circumstances. But what it will do is it could make him. It could make him. So I think deep down, Mikel will be quite happy that it was Real Madrid as well. Because I don't think he would have had any chance of breaking down this Madrid.
No.
Sorry.
He couldn't break down Newcastle.
No,
he couldn't break down how many teams we've drawn 10 times in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and the majority of those draws are against teams that just set up in a low block.
100%.
And he's had no answer for it, Lee.
No, he hasn't. And it's not just this season either, so it's been it's been there for last season and the season before as well. So that is my biggest disappointment with him. He has to find a way. He has to find a way of doing it. there could have been, that game against PSV yesterday. Maybe could have looked at doing it then. Maybe just try something different, but he didn't.
I know he's not. And Brain Cells is saying Arteta needs to gamble. And Shitanya also, this is the perfect tie to show if Arteta's going to be a top coach. These are the moments that define you. Like, you dream of this as a manager, right? Forget the Premier League. You've got the opportunity. You're going up against Carlo Ancelotti. You pretty much know what he's going to do. And he pretty much knows what you're going to do. But because he's so good at what he does, and he's got the pedigree and the proven record and all of that, you've got to be prepared. And let me say something for him as well. He better be, because if Emery beats PSG, his old team, and gets Aston Villa to the semi-final, and you've got Arne Slot, and I know you guys have defended it all, saying Arne inherited an architecture that was unbelievable, players that were unreal, 4 world-class players at least. Arteta inherited a mess, but it's like 5 years on. These are the things where fans are going to start questioning. Those who are already out, forget about it. But the fans who are defending still, like, that Arteta deserves more. You heard Joe Cole on TNT telling fans like what he's done for you and all this type of stuff. But when you start seeing that type of thing, and this PSG team, I don't care what anyone says, this is a better team than the one that had Neymar and Messi in it. And Luis Enrique is doing an amazing job. Lee, if that happens, I don't blame fans for having bigger questions. I really don't.
No, but we beat PSG 2-0, and that's a different game. It's the same competition, but a different competition, if you know what I'm saying. But I get what you're saying about that. But I think that with Emery, everybody, I've seen them fall off a cliff in the league this season again. Not been fantastic, and no one really wants to criticise then. And then in January, when he needs to be backed, he's been backed to manager. Look what he's brought in, and obviously they're scoring goals. And listen, I think that he's got a very, very good chance of doing it. For Aston Villa to get to the final, they're going to have to get past Real Madrid. If simple as that,
But even if he gets them to the semi-final past PSG, who beat Liverpool, I think that says a lot about Aston Villa.
So what if Arsenal? All right, then okay, Arsenal beat Real Madrid and go out.
That's massive.
Go out against PSV. I still think the criticism will come on him. Oh, look, when it comes to the semi-final, it's a different animal. Managing Arsenal to managed Aston Villa, and that's no disrespect to Aston Villa. It is what it is. It's a bigger pressure. I look at Emery and I think that he done okay at Arsenal, but he failed. You know what I mean?
I agree with you there, Lee. And if you look at the back pages of the English newspapers today, it's all about Aston Villa. They're lauding Aston Villa. We get a byline.
They don't want to laud Arsenal, but at the end of the day, listen, you have to say Aston Villa have done exceptionally well to get where they are. Last 8 in their first season back in the Champions League is fantastic. But
18 months ago, they were battling relegation with Steven Gerrard.
But if they go out, no one's gonna. There's going to be no inquest on that.
Agreed.
If Arsenal go out, there will be inquests, whether it's against Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, or who in the semi-final. That is just the way it is. And I think that I disagree with Joe Cole, right? And I would have him on this, like when he turns around and says, "I'll be great." Well, what's his job? What is his job? It's to make you successful. You come in at Arsenal. What was his job to do? It's to get us where we are now. What he's doing now is what is expected of any good Arsenal manager coming into this football club. Let's laud it because he's done this and he's done that. He's done fantastically well for us, but that's what I expect from a manager. I'm not saying I'm not one of these fans that's saying I demand trophies. Of course, I want them, but what I do think is that any Arsenal manager coming in should be challenging, doing what Mikel's doing. what, well, let's laud it and be grateful for it. Like, no, thank you, Joe. And realistically, I don't give a monkey's what you've got to say. You're a Chelsea man. And but he's talking rubbish. Rubbish. You know what I mean? Like,
the training wheels have to come off now. They really do. I mean, I'm not saying, I don't think you're Mikel out either, but the training wheels have to come off, Lee, and it's okay to ask the questions.
He's got to show me something.
Yeah.
He's shown me that he can manage Arsenal Football Club and get him into a certain position. He's done fantastically well, but he's got to show me that he can finish it off. And at this moment in time, Bayern Munich in the Champions League quarter-final is there's your test. That's your test paper going in. And I'm putting an F on that because you fouled. Mm-hmm. Newcastle, all right, there's another test comes up. Newcastle in the semi-final. Not as much pressure as Champions League and everything like that. You are the favourite to go through over in 2 legs.
The domestic cups.
Foul.
That's an F.
Manchester United in the FA Cup. Big game. Foul. So
could have done the double over us as well by beating us last week.
Yeah,
I mean, that was not great.
You have to say at this moment in time, there's been some certain games, and I'm not saying all games because there's been games that we've gone to Manchester City this season and been unlucky in, and we've smashed Liverpool at home on a couple of occasions, gone to Liverpool and got a couple of draws. I'm talking about when it matters, and Aston Villa at home when the whole season. When was that? April. I can't even remember when it was. It might have even been a bit around about March time. Might have been about this time. No, it was in between the Bayern Munich games, right? So probably another couple of weeks. For the first time in the whole season, you have it in your hands to win the league. Mm-hmm. You foul. You don't win that game. So there's a lot of things there that you've got to say with Mikel that it hasn't been, you've got to step up to the mark somewhere along the line. Now, I don't think you can keep saying, this and that, and making excuses. The summer comes, and when that first ball's kicked in the Premier League, if he hasn't got what he wants on the pitch, I'm not going to be looking and going, well, you didn't get this, Mikel, you didn't get that. You've had the whole summer to get it done. So the pressure will be on him. And I certainly won't be if we're in a position at this time next season, in this same position, saying, I'm grateful for what he's done over the last 3 or 4 years. I'm sorry. Don't wash him. He's had a lot more time than a lot of people would have. Whether you think that's right or wrong, I'm quite proud of the fact that the Arsenal did do that, even though at one stage I'd never thought it was going to work. You have to give the club credit for that. But also, you cannot turn around now, Soph, and use another excuse that's been used over the last few years. He's an inexperienced manager. It's been at it 5 years now. Been at it 5 years. So that he's not a novice no more. He knows exactly what he needs, and he's got to go and get that. And that's how I feel about it. And I'm not one of these people that's not afraid to criticise when he's got it wrong. I've not been that impressed with our home form this season as far as entertaining games are concerned. It's not been great. I've not been in like the tactics of him this season. I think, if I'm being really honest, if we go out against Real Madrid and we end up second, third, fourth in the league, which could definitely happen, I think it's a massive foul from him, and it's a massive foul from the club as well. And both of them need to pull their socks up if they're going to be successful. And I mean that. Right?
And you know what I want? I want him to feel. We spoke to Kevin Hatchard about Andrea Berta, and he gave us the lowdown and said he's had more hits than misses. And I want him to feel. I want this guy to put the pressure on Mikel. Everyone needs to feel like pressure from their boss. And I mean, whether Mikel will see him as his boss, I don't know. But I think that we need this. We need this guy to come in. And I think it's quite glaringly that maybe, I was saying to Dan the other day, maybe the reason why we didn't back anything in January is because the club didn't have faith in Ato, and they think they've given Mikel enough money, and they knew they were going to bring in Berta. They were romancing Berta, because I know the Mavrinakis was, romancing Edu for a few months before anything was announced. Nothing happens overnight. And they probably said, you know what, we're going to start with a clean slate in the summer with this guy. And I think he needs to feel the pressure from the change. I think it's been a bit too easy for him. You feel stress and pressure as manager of Arsenal, of course, big games against City, going in for the title. But has he felt the pressure from the owners and the people above him that the results now matter more so than ever? I don't think so.
I honestly do feel there's going to be a change next season. I'm not saying people will want it, but I want questions answered next season, not being answered. I think that this January has been a disgrace from the football club. And I blame Mikel as part of that. He's part of it. To do what we've done, to be going into this part of the season playing Real Madrid without a recognised striker is criminal.
Yeah, it's bad.
Criminal. Then when you play PSV, like before this tie comes out, you're asking fans to be spending 70, 80, 90, £100 for a ticket, and you've done nothing in January. I'm sorry that I've heard people say it's unforgivable what's happened and all that. This moment is unforgivable, but we can easily be they can easily be forgiven if they go and do the right things in the transfer. If Arsenal were to go and spend massively amounts of money on strikers and end up winning the league next season or winning the Champions League next season, every Arsenal fan will forgive January. Every Arsenal fan, I guarantee, will forgive January. But if they don't, they won't. And that's the difference. So there will be pressure on him next season, 100%. I don't like it when people come up to me and go, "Well, do you want him in or out, or why do you want him in and why don't you want him out?" and all that. He's got to go, Lee. He's got to go. And I had someone come to me yesterday going, "He's got to go. He's got to go." And I said, "Well, what now? No, if you don't win the league, well, we might win the Champions League. If you want me to be a betting man, and I don't think we will. But let's wait and see, and then go from there. People are already condemning him before even the season's finished. So, if you know what I mean, we're still in it.
You can't do that.
No. So for me, I'm going to see what happens at the end of the season, because this is how if you want my honest opinion, this is how it's going to pan out.
Always.
I think we get knocked out against Real Madrid, and I think that we're scraped through in the Champions League, because we're going to struggle unless Martinelli comes in and does an unbelievable job, which he's not done all season. So why is he going to come back now and do it? I'm not fit. So that's how I see it's going to be. And then if I don't see us going in January and going big early doors, I'm going to get frustrated and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be the only one. But listen, if they go in the summer and they go big, we're all going to get behind it. Of course, we're all going to get behind it, But we really do.
I'm excited. I mean, look, you're excited. It's going to be great. You're going to go to Madrid. It's going to be amazing. I mean, we've been craving to be here. No matter what happens, it's going to be okay. But we've been wanting to be here. The next phase is we're done with the process. We thought we were done with the progress. And this season, I thought it would be the third part that I've labeled it success. So process, progress, success. And and for me, I really wanted to get to the League Cup final, Lee. I really did. I wanted to be in the final this weekend.
Yeah.
How they don't know what it tastes like to win together. They haven't felt that. And if they tasted a League Cup win, imagine what that would make them feel like. My God, if it feels this good to win the Carabao Cup, how good does it feel to win the Premier League?
Well, I agree. But then I would say to the players, you know what I mean? That you didn't perform in 2 leagues. So that's down to you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to turn up and perform. The manager, takes a little bit of the blame, but I look at those players. Look at the players, in those two semi-final. Name me one that played really at the top of their game in both of them, in any of them. No one did. So we're now asking them to do it against Real Madrid, And how I see it, Soph, is that going to Madrid, I haven't got much hope that we can win. I've got, we're always going to believe that you've got a chance, but realistically,
yeah, sure.
I think. But when I went to Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals last season, I thought we'd beat them.
I thought too. I thought that too.
We didn't in the end, but I thought we should have, and at the end of it. So for me now, I'm going to games not thinking that we're going to win games of football. So that tells me that there's something not right. Mm-hmm. Last season, I went to every single game, whether it be Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham, whatever, thinking that Arsenal were going to win games. This season, I've gone to a lot of games thinking, I'm not so sure here.
Yeah, so, I totally agree.
So something's not right. Something's
all
not
right.
right I'm saying that.
So before I get to a very important matter of housekeeping with you, Lee, I've been waiting for you to be on the show before I play a clip. And by the way, be prepared for this clip because it is an archive clip, and it involves someone that we all love very, very much. But it is so classic, and he would absolutely love it, right? So before we go to the clip, I've got to ask you, what does your crystal football say? You just told us, really. You don't think we're going to beat them, but
no. But I think we'd be proud.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a Bayern Munich 10-2 situation here.
No, I don't think it will. I think it'll be an unlucky moment or something like that. And I think it'll be one where it'll be nerve-wracking and enjoyable, but not enjoyable, if you know what I mean.
What if yesterday Sterling shows up in the second leg like that and gives us another outlet?
Be lovely.
Wouldn't it?
It would be lovely. But, that happens in films.
Can't rely on that, right?
No.
Can't rely on that.
The greatest story ever is Saka comes back and he, takes us to glory.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's going to happen. I think we've got to be realistic. I think that if we had everybody fit, say if Havertz was 100% fit and Saka would still be second favourites in this game, so.
Yeah, no doubt. I totally agree with you. Absolutely. And, we're going into it with, Marino as our number 9.
So you've got to be a little bit realistic about it. I've had a little confidence we might be able to do something. But ultimately, last season, we had all of those players and we was on fire.
Yeah.
We still didn't get through against Bayern Munich. So the realistic thing of it is that we're not quite there yet. And we need we need a couple of killers up. We need that front three needs revamping.
I would love this kid to have. I would love this kid to have his Lamine Yamal moment in the Champions. He can.
A Jack Wilshere moment against Barcelona, or something like that. But he's only 17.
Magic.
Don't forget that. And listen, I don't know, Harry. It'd be lovely to be able to talk to him and go, you're looking forward to it. Buzzing for it or whatever, or do they just say, it's another game?
Yeah.
I don't know. All
right. We're going to talk about it between now and then, and we live in hope. Hope is never a plan, but you know what? Anything can happen in 2 legs of football. And, Jason said on Monday that the year Chelsea beat Barcelona, they had injuries.
Yeah.
They weren't great going into that match, and by hook or by Messi missed a penalty. We saw Vinny Jr. miss a penalty yesterday. I mean, anything can happen in football. I felt bad for Alvarez, and Jesus, I mean that was harsh.
You need a little bit of luck, don't you?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. All right, Lee, you have been very generous with your time. I need another 5 more minutes with you because we have a score to settle. And he keeps calling you a wonderful man. And we presented this artwork about a month ago. Maybe it was a little bit longer, where everyone was softening up. We had the listeners vote. We had you, we had Harry, we had Potsy, we had Tom Canton, who was a clear no on this. And a couple of people wrote to me and they were like, do you really think Super Kev would want Newman to actually have a coin? And I couldn't help but think, Lee, that maybe, just maybe, I don't think so. So I went into my archives and there was a moment where Newman was about to get a coin and Such Legend had a little bit of an issue with it. And I have the video evidence and I'm going to play it right now because number one, it's hilarious. And number two, we're nostalgic on this show. And I'll tell you something, it's great to hear his voice. So Lee, I'm going to play the clip and then I want you to have the final decision after you hear this 2-minute clip with me, you, Super Kev and Potsy. Here we go, everyone. Get ready, squaddies.
From him, which if Kev allows, I will read at the end of the show. And if Kev allows, I will show it because you are also in it. Super Kev!
No, he's here.
No, he's here. He's got on the bike and started making his own white violet.
At ease, squaddies, at ease. Anytime these two turn up.
I've done that about 10 minutes ago.
My internet, I've been like this for about 20 minutes. Hey, and let me just say this. Let me just say this to you. You, Lee, you, Potsy, Sophie, and all the squaddies. Newman backstabbed me. Hey, it's just the fact. I'm only telling the truth. Yeah. Newman backstabbed me. So basically, guys, also, I don't know how far you've got into it, but
I gave him a bit of a debrief.
1 minute, he was calling me out on Twitter about refereeing decisions. Me saying that, we got some bad decision. He's saying, no, the referees are right, blah, blah, blah. Then he's going round the back to try and get Sophie to get me off the board of being one of the judge on the panels. Backstabbing me.
Hello, what's happening in there?
Exactly, Potsy. So, Sophie said he's done some new art. I said, I'm not interested. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Well, you should stay at ease, for Christ's sake. I'm getting an headache here, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I don't like backstabbers, Lee. I don't like it.
Kev.
Ease, squaddies, at ease.
Thank you. God for that.
Kev, what I was saying that you missed when you were trying to connect is he's written you and the squaddies a letter.
Ooh.
He sent me a letter, which most of the squaddies want me to read out at the end of the show, but it's going to be down to you if it's read while you're here, because Lee's here, and Dan did make one of his pieces of art back in the day, but Lee did make the new piece of art, which has not been seen by anybody.
Okay, we'll hear it at the end. Happy to hear it.
The letter? Okay, all right, great. All right, let's talk football. 6 minutes in and not a lick about Arsenal yet, but here we go, people. Are you ready for it? Stay to the end because I...
And at the end, he wanted nothing to do with it. He didn't want to see the art. He didn't want to hear the letter. He left the show and we read the letter. And when I saw this, I'm like, I think Newman needs to work a little bit harder for his coin. I cannot betray Super Kev. Lee. By the way, classic. Absolute classic.
Do you know what? I know that Kevin loves a bit of banter in the footballing world in the dressing room, and I know that Kevin was a big wind-up himself, and you could see that he was laughing there, like. And I do think that Kevin would have mellowed at the end of the day. I do think he would have, like, But this backstabbing, like, I'm not having that. You know what I mean? Like, Kev's loyalty was a big thing with Kevin, massive thing with Kevin. Like, you know what I mean? Like if he let you in, then you was in for life, unless So, and he was like very, very loyal. Well, just wonderful, wonderful friend, wasn't he? Like So, yeah, I don't know.
Tony's just saying to me, the most valuable thing is coins that are imperfect. Is that what you're saying, Tony? Are you actually on Newman's side? Oh, wow. Tony.
I'm still saying that I think I could have convinced Kevin to let him have it in the end. All I know deep down that Kevin said that he had to bloody work for it. Has he worked hard enough for it? That's the thing,
Maybe we need one more piece of art. Maybe like another piece of total art. Because when I saw that clip, I'm like, I know Kev. He would have messaged me and he would have said, "Keep it going." So
I think there's a little bit of that in me for me. I think that Newman has got to bring out a little bit of. Little bit more.
Maybe he needs his Matisse. Maybe it's his Monet. Maybe it's his time to create the piece that we hang in the Louvre, the Arsenal Louvre, the Highbury Squad Louvre. This is what Matty's requested. I'm thinking Uncle Terrace is a 2,000-word essay. I think he needs one more step, Lee. Kev would make him.
Newman, you're there. You're so close. But I know that Kevin would want to make you just work. Listen, Kevin was one for graft. He was one for graft.
Exactly.
He believed if you graft hard enough, you could get. And I think that you're close, but I think there's got to be something there. And you've got to come up with something creative as well.
This is it. This is the moment. He's got to work a little bit harder for it. This is one more piece of art. There you go, Newman. One more piece. All right, here we go.
So close. I am that close. If that video hadn't come out, I would have still said yes. But I know Campbell would have just kept you hanging on, So
he would have. And Remit is saying Lee's ruining his hard man reputation and reputation softening in his start. Brilliant. No, 2,000 word. No, that's not about me. And come on, sis, you've made Newman. Yep, he's going to wait a little bit longer. That is it. I wanted you guys to hear it because when Super Kev said the words Newman backstabbed me.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's got me. It's got me. And for that reason and that reason only, to backstab Kevin Campbell.
That's a no-go.
It means you've got to work a little bit harder, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. And we got to have his back. Glad you guys enjoyed that little bit of fun. It's good to hear his voice, Lee. And you know what? Maybe we'll play some little clips here and there. Yeah, I love it. 100%. It's Dickie Bow Thursday today. I was going to play that on his birthday, and it just felt like it was a little bit hard, wasn't it? The first birthday, without him and
stuff.
While
we're talking about Kevin, I don't know if you've been following Sheffield United. I mean, I'm into it big time. I'm into it big time at this moment in time. And Tyrese is just on fire at the moment, and
it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Some of the guys, and he, whenever he scores, he does that looking up to the heaven. It makes me very emotional. The boy's on fire, and do you know what? I'm hoping to go up there over at Easter Friday, go and see him. I'll message him every time, afterwards, the goals and keep going, doing this. And every single time he messages back, thank you very much. Do you know what I mean? We have a chat. And I just see so many traits of Kevin in him. Kai is a little bit different. He's a little bit different, a little bit more shy than both lovely lads, as you well know. But I do see a lot of Kevin in Tyrese. I do.
He's got the eye of the Kevin Tiger, and
he's just got that little. I just see a lot. I do. It upsets me, but I'm so I'm so proud of him that he's doing what he's doing, and they've got a massive game this weekend, Sheffield United versus Sheffield. And I'll be really honest, when I see that was on the Sunday, I was gutted because obviously Arsenal are playing, so I'm watching every game at the moment. I'm right into it, and the games have been brilliant. I know they lost to Leeds, but I thought it was a fantastic game of football.
Yeah, he would have had the winning goal the other night, but for the late goal. you know, and
I've got to say though, I watched the whole game. Bristol City always looked like they could get something, but against Queen's Park Rangers, which was a real sickener. I was going to go to that game, like we couldn't get a ticket, and then Tyree said, "Well, why didn't you ask me like that?" You know, when you didn't feel like I should have done.
Yeah, no.
And he's gone and got a banger. So I said to him, "Right, I want tickets for this one," and then he's going to sort us. So I just got to say, like, if you I know that everybody loves Kevin and all that, but get behind Sheffield United, get behind them. They're on the chance to win the league.
Totally.
It's wonderful. And I'll tell you what, bloody Burnley are right up there as well.
Right.
But Tyrese is banging in the goals at the moment, and he is on fire at this moment in time, playing really, really well.
He is, and I just realised my light blew out and I was in the dark pretty much. Sorry about that, guys. But when you read the comments, because I follow everything too, and I always message him after the game, and he's loving it. He's having such a great season. And in my mind, I'm like, man, Kevin would be loving this season, loving this season. Oh my God. And it's in the back of my mind, you know.
She said that she don't know too much about football, but she knows a bit. But she was going like, the one thing that she's annoyed about is that when Kevin was alive, he had managers that weren't great.
Yeah, Stoke. He had 8 managers at Stoke?
And some of them were awful. And Kevin used to moan about that, like between me and you, used to have a moan about them and all that. But I think they've got. I think the manager that he's got now is brilliant.
Yeah.
I like the way he manages their minutes really well, and I think Kevin would be really appreciative of what Chris Wilder's doing, and what he's doing with Tyrese, and it's that's what hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
Seeing that.
I know. And and when I read the comments, Sheffield United fans love him because they spent a lot of money on another forward, and Ty was on a free.
Yeah.
And they're like, this guy, this kid, this man, this whatever. They love him, and he loves playing for Sheffield United.
Yeah, he does.
He absolutely is having a ball and the best time of his career, so far.
Really enjoying it. And like the video that went about when he was on the FaceTime and after he scored the goal against Sheffield United, and I said that can't be him. So
Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was brilliant. And
I said, "Oh, was that?" He going, "Yeah, it's definitely me." He said, "It's brilliant, isn't it?" Like, you know what I mean? He's right. He's right. Just like Kevin in that sort of sense. He's very, very for the fans and everything like that. And I can't wait to get up there and have and watch. Like, I've been watching him on telly all the time, and
it's so really good, isn't it?
Oh, I've really got Sophie. I'm really into it. Like,
me too. I'm actually more. Dare I say this out loud? I'm actually more into Sheffield United season than our season for a lot of different reasons, Lee. And I know you and I are both the same.
I was we was playing our Vets game Sunday, and we was in the bar, and Leeds were playing Portsmouth. And it's in on the background, and we're all like chatting away, and Portsmouth scored. I quite like Leeds. I've never had anything against Leeds. And so I've just gone up there.
Totally.
What's happening? I said, Portsmouth scored, like, you know what I mean? So they know I'm massively into it, like, you know what I mean?
If there's one thing I'm rooting for is, of course, Arsenal in the Champions League, but I'm rooting for Ty to get to the Premier League.
Oh, unbelievable.
And to get to it with a team like Sheffield United, and is something like, his dad would have just absolutely loved. And I know we both talked to the family, and they're really proud of Ty as well. Yeah. And it's just wonderful, and he deserves it. He's worked his arse off, for this moment. And when you write to him after, he's so humble. Like, I write to him and I'm like, after a game, and especially because he's scoring so much. And he just really appreciates like the love and the support. He's such a good boy. It's
every single time he replies, whether it, and as he's come out of the dressing room and he's buzzing, I've messaged him to say, wish Rob Holding good luck. He's an Arsenal legend, and he played at the week in midweek, played well. I talked to him about Sosa. I said, he's my sort of player, and I'm right into it. I'm really, really into
it's fun.
To Sheffield United at the moment, it's really, really enjoyable, and
it is.
The pleasure I get when he scores
It's amazing.
It is amazing. I really do, like, and you know, I obviously, like, I'm upset because me and Kevin could have been sharing that as well. Like, do you know what I mean? And like, you know, I know that he loved all that, but
he's happy. I know that he would want us to be doing this, like, you know, watching Ty, messaging, like giving him all the love, you know, like Uncle John and, you know, everyone that just loves and adores, you know, Ty and Kyle and stuff, supporting them and just showing them the love. And, you know, I think that's exactly what Kev will want. And Kev would love this as well. March 25th. There's only a few tickets left, you guys. The link is in the description. I was talking to Kev's sister yesterday. They're so excited about this. You got Lee Dixon, Paul Davis, Alan Smith, and Andrew Cole. And it's going to be a great night. And at the Finsbury Park Picture House, check out the link. You're not going to want to miss it. It's all to raise money for Super Kev's Foundation. And we'll keep promoting that and everything the foundation do as well, Lee. It's going to be a great night.
Great night, like, you know. And, you know, like, I've got to say big up to Andy Cole, like, you know what I mean? You know.
Oh, he's been great, you know. He loved the
encounter that we had. We were talking at the funeral. He goes, "Yeah, I remember when you and Kev done that to me." Like, you know, just a top guy. You know what I mean? And
he is.
They all are. To be fair, they all are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, every single one of them. Like, you know, have got so much. You know, they got so much love for the guy. But you know,
brilliant stuff.
Yeah, it's like, and I don't want to leave Kai. He scored a very good goal for Radcliffe the other week. Like,
he did. It was a bang. It was like, you know what? He's fierce. He's very strong. I mean,
that play against him, he's
physical.
more like Kevin in that respect. I tell you, like,
very physical.
You know, so he put that on, and I messaged him to say, like, well done and all that. Like, so I don't want to leave Kyle out.
No, we're not going to leave him out, because I was going to say at the end, I'm like, you know what? He keeps promising to come back, but since Man City have been absolute garbage, he is.
He's gone quiet, and so is Maurice. All of a sudden, he don't want to know Man City no more. Like, a pair of them. You know what I mean?
After the 5-1, I'm like, okay, so it's time for you to come back on the show. You know, I'm training.
The pair of them, like, you know what I mean? Carl said it, like Tyree said that he was going to come on as well, like, you know what I mean? And he's gone a bit quiet. I've got to concentrate on my Sheffield United.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It's really cool. But no, they're lovely, like, you know.
They are. It's good banter.
They're doing well, and they're doing their dad proud, and that makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, and, definitely.
So come on, Sheffield United, keep going. Massive game. On the Steel Derby, like, on if Tyrese can nick one there, it'd be a tough
hopefully
game.
They can repeat it. They can repeat what they did in the first game. So
and if they do, you know, I'm worried for this game. It's going to be a tough game. Like, they should beat them, but you know what Derby games are like, and you know, you get the sense that the Sheffield Wednesday fans are up for it to stop the charge, and. It's going to be. What I'll do is I will record it and watch it.
Watch it later. I know. Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining. You know, we've been going for an hour and 23 minutes. You know, it always goes by so fast when you're here. Yeah. You can follow Lee at Lee Mark Judges on the old X. And of course, you know where to catch him on Lee Judges TV and AFTV as well. And we got Chelsea this weekend. I'm sure you'll be busy doing stuff leading up to Chelsea. Lee.
And then that's it. I've got a little bit of time off, which is very nice. Like, you know what I mean?
International break.
And then
you're going to go anywhere? You're going to take a little kind of jaunt to Dubai, or you're not doing that this time?
Unfortunately not, because unfortunately my mate has been diagnosed with cancer, and we're doing a charity game for him. So
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's like Adrian, he's been on my show a few times. He's only 44, so we're doing a charity football game for him. So
well, let me have the link and I'll share it with the squaddies.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah,
I'll get that done. I'll give you I'll send that to you. Like, and I'm actually playing, so we're
lovely.
Yeah, so it meant that I couldn't go. We was going to go away, but I couldn't miss that. So we're doing that, and then at the end of the season, we're going to go away at the end of the season. But
all right,
yeah. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right, Mr. Judges, thank you once again for your time. Squaddies, thank you so much. Newman, you've got some homework to do.
Get that paintbrush out, my son.
Get that paintbrush out, and yeah, all the best. And Lee's going to share the link with us so we can all do our part to help Lee's friend, and hopefully everything will work out for Adrian. And yeah, I mean, so many things you hear, and it's we just got to stick together and help each other as much as we can, people, you know. Lee, thank you, babe. Always good to see you, and thanks for also having sound mind when it came to the old coin this evening. Squaddies, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, everyone, at ease. Night night.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.